right, guys, what do we have here in front of us? This is the SPY. Listen, if you're new to the channel, I'm Coach UV, and this is a unique trading group. And I want to get straight to business, all right? I do daily and weekly stock analysis on the market at abroad. But here, we like to focus on market structure and price action. That way, focusing on one ticker, all right, one time frame, mastering the emotions and the movement and flow of one ticker, it allows you to maximize on the best moves in the market. And don't worry, I'm going to show you that exactly on the chart. I tell you what, it's been some interesting moves, and we still have those interesting moves right now. If you've seen over the weekend, all right, I prepared you with a video, all right, over the weekend. You can check out that link below to subscribe. If you're not subscribed, hit that bell notification. That way you're notified when I drop valuable videos. And you do like value, correct? All right then, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. Listen, we're gonna get straight into the business right now. I warned you that we would have some sort of range, all right, inside of this bull flag that we have here, okay? And this is the 4-hour on the SPY. Now we're going to take the daily, all right, only for the purposes of, okay, understanding last week's close, okay? This is Monday Madness, all right? Monday Madness, and this episode gives you the outlook, right, for today and looking forward into the week, okay? So before we get into any of that, let's go ahead and check the economic calendar right here in front of you, okay? Listen, tomorrow is going to be a very, very interesting day, full of data, right? Usually this data that comes out, all right, this composite HPI number, right? These numbers here, usually they come out on a Friday. They somehow weaved it and sneaked it inside of this Tuesday, tomorrow, right? Right at the point where we are at all-time highs. Listen, I stress to you guys always, okay, to always check the economic data to understand we have some data that could affect the price of the stocks we trade, but understand that the news is just noise, all right? So we don't need it to trade, all right? But we use it as a guide, economic guide, all right? We just react, all right? So let's move back to the charts, okay? Right in front of you, you have the SPY. We're on the daily. What was last week's close, all right? Last week's daily close on Friday was 645.31. All right, 645.31. So we're gonna put that on the screen. You guys take your notes. All right, this is very important. This number is what I use on a daily basis. You understand? On a daily basis. All right, I want you guys to understand that. 645.31. Okay, that's the previous. All right, we're gonna put the previous close. All right, previous close. Friday, so you guys will know, all right? The question to ask yourself is, are we above or below the previous close? All right, and right now we are, okay? So that's a little bit of bearish momentum, all right? Right in between here, okay, using these 3 bars, you see how this is a full bar, but this bar is not a full bar, and this bar is not a full bar? These are like doji candles, okay? And they're not as full as this big green bar, right? They call them elephant bars, right? Some people do. But it's a lot of volume. That's what this means. A lot of money went into these candles, as opposed to a candle like this where we're stuck in a range, right? This one moved a bunch. The gap in between is what that creates. Because these 2 candles, they don't look like this, we create that gap in between. So there's no buyers and sellers here. There was a little bit of trading. And so it creates a gap, all right? And gap trading is a very effective market to trade if you could trade it correctly. But you don't want to get caught in trying to short at the bottom of a range, all right? Which brings me to an interesting point. Now, before I move on to a smaller time frame, all right, like the 4-hour and the 30-minute, 15 and the 5, all right? I look at a broader market time frame confluence or time frame continuity. I like to see a lot of time frames align, all right? These bring the most accurate momentum trades where your risk is better than your reward, okay? And you get that flow you're looking for. Now, as long as we are below 645.31, as long as we're below 645.31, we are going to be able to stay bearish for now. But if we get above the previous close, it's going to be a little bit bullish now. I'm going to look here on SPY. All right, we might see some flushing on the market. Okay. All right? Previous close, we already know what that is, and today is open with 644.04, right? So that's today's open. These are the numbers that we must get over, right? We got to get over these numbers. These are the numbers we need to see in order to be thinking bullish. This is our strategy. This is our game plan, all right? And we stay disciplined by actually following those, all right? So 644.04 is today's open, right? This is significant. Above these numbers, calls, okay? We have about 30 minutes left in the market, okay? Now, the next thing we want to look at is we want to say, what is the low of day, all right? What is the low of day? Now we're going to switch over to a smaller time frame, okay? Because we need to know that low of day and where that is right now, even though we have this pattern you see here, right, where the bears are winning right now, right? But you see here, this symmetry, this line of symmetry, something you probably haven't thought about or maybe looked into, all right? But there's a thin zone in between here for the volume profile, which acts like a magnet, okay? And this symmetry is holding up here, as you can see, all right? It's actually still holding here, all right? We are creating a higher low, all right? This is Monday Madness, okay? Monday Madness. Hit that like button if you're feeling like you're about to get some information, because you're about to get it right now. Pause for all my NY social media guys. Listen, what we're going to do is, all right, we're looking for the higher low, okay? And we want to see, remember, we want to see the low of the day. We already got our numbers here, okay? We have our previous day close and we have today's open. And so we are below it, all right? So we want to see and keep going down a different time frame so we can actually see where that is. Because that low of day, if that low of day get breached, then we can see downside continuation, all right? So a pattern forms. Thank you guys for sticking with me. This is what it takes, okay? I want you to understand this is a teaching moment and a guiding moment, and you can always come back to it. It's good to see these technical aspects and the theories and some of the ways that some seasoned traders think. That way you learn to gather instinct, right, to see these things play out. The next step in your trading journey is paper trading, being able to execute on some of the things and gain that confidence, learning about position sizing and scaling into your trades, all right? But it's all boiling down to risk management. If you can't handle a small account, then you're not going to be able to handle a big account. So let's quickly move on the theory that I like to use, all right? My trading plan with the using the open and the closing prices for my bias for up or down trading, right? I want to know bearish or bullish, and I use these. So the next step is to see the low of day. And the low of day is 643.41, all right? 643.41, low of day. So we want to see this price hold. This is the bottom of the range, all right? This is the bottom of the range, okay? Bottom of, and what you want to see is price hold. So now that we got our three numbers, all right? Remember, everything is three, all right? 3 steps. We want to see that number hold. So let's go down off of the hour and go to the 30-minute, all right? And I think because we're getting ready to have a 30-minute candle close, all right, in 3 minutes, all right? It's 3:27, 8:25, all right, of 2025. This is Coach UV, the unique trading group, where trading is simple when you account for market structure and price action. There's no indicators on my chart besides, the trend lines and the psychology and what I'm using and the volume profile. Trading this way allows you to be more elite to understand what's going on, okay? Unique Trading Group specializes on helping people spot out opportunities, having that mindset to be able to execute. It builds that discipline over time as a series of events play out, all right? Understanding where we are, that sometimes that the best trade is really no trade and waiting for price to come to you. Now, with that said, remember what our number is. The low of day. We want to see that hold in order to continue for a bounce to see if if the bulls have a chance to go up towards the upside to retest these previous highs, okay? Because right here we have demand, we could fall back to retrace this demand and to fill this gap. And so the patient trader waits because we understand that, all right? So quickly, let's go ahead and mark that 643.41. Let's find it on the chart. All right, 643.41 is about right. We're gonna put it, okay, right there, okay? All right, 1 second, bear with me as I navigate the screen. Okay, 643.41. All right, we are going to put it right there. We're gonna just put it right there. And we're gonna make that line green for now, since we have bounced before from that level, okay? 643.41 is the number that we want to see hold, okay? That's what we're doing. I'm gonna put this down here so you guys can see. Remember, this area is a gap, okay? All right, that green line, if that green line is breached, then we're gonna see a flush. Now, being that the market is not closed yet, and I recorded this Monday Madness episode before we close, you're going to be able to witness the power of this. I'm going to end this video soon. You guys seen the data, all right? I want you to understand that NVDA is next, all right? NVDA is next, okay? If we can hold this higher low at that previous low, we can trap in those bears for a 2-try failure, all right? A 2-try failure, a W shape, okay? Let the bears try once, let them try twice, right? Once, twice. The best entry, rookies always scream the best entries. Stop trading fear, find patterns that equal into money, right? Because we're trapping in liquidity with a technical pattern. A 2-try failure, a W shape. We're trapping in people who are getting overly short while we're creating higher lows. Just a setup. Doesn't mean that it has to happen, but that is the setup. You understand? Okay? All right. So, with that said, okay, all right, we just got a 30-minute candle. What do we have here? Right? What do we have here? Right at the volume point of control, okay? You see that? All right, now, I want to go to the 5-minute, okay? All right, the entry, remember the entry, okay? In real time, all right? The entry, let's move over here, all right? All right, the entry, just like we explained, right? Right here will be that W. This is the equivalent. These are the W shapes right here. All right, so you need to wait patiently for that green line, right? We got 30, we need to be patient towards the end of the day. There's no need to rush, all right? Let the numbers play out, okay? Let these numbers play out. The volume point of control is sitting at 644, a previous range demand, all right? And at 643, another previous demand, all right? And we are stuck between these two ranges. All these ranges here, we are stuck between, okay? So 644, remember, all right? Today's open. Okay, that's caused above that. And we have here, previous close, all right? That's what you have in front of you. I wanted you to be able to see everything, all right? That's what we have, all right? Now, let's move on to NVIDIA. NVIDIA is next week, okay? NVIDIA, next week, but Wednesday is gonna come, all right? And we have two ranges right here. Remember that ranges act like magnets, all right? Ranges act like magnets, okay? That's what we have here, okay? Expect NVIDIA to try to retest here as late buyers come in right here at this moment at 179. This is your midway point, all right? But we are inside of a range, all right? A bull flag and a range. And as long as we inside of this range, all right, we can stay in this range until earnings, okay? The power is going to come. Whatever side chooses to jump early, they're going to lose, all right? This is a gamble. And you got to recognize that people who are not in the game, they're waiting on the sideline. They're not putting their money in the market right now. All right, these are algos inside of a range, scalpers, all right? Maybe retail traders getting caught trying to trade the chop, but this is the way to think about it. This is coming from a 10-year seasoned trader. And so you can rewind this again and always think about these concepts, all right? The range inside, all right, here. And so a bull flag into a range, price bounces back and forth. That's what you get. It's not until it breaks above you see the breakout trades, and breaks below you see the breakdown trades, all right? But you're targeting the zones, the halfway marks of the entire range. This whole range is a 100% move. In the middle is a midway zone, all right? And it's inside of a range, okay? And so as long as we have these type of setups, all right, you gotta be aware of that, all right? Now, if you're asking yourself, oh, that was too hard, that's too complicated, I want you to just think about one thing, all right? Matter of fact, let me take this back off. Let me take it off, all right? I just told you that a bull flag in a range sometimes can trap in traders, all right? And we all know that a bull flag is this here. If you don't know, now you know, all right? This is the pole and a flag. This pole mimics this pole, which is a range of movement, a movement of price. Dollar signs, baby, that's right. Money printing, all right? And so if you know that this is gonna happen based on a sign and you're waiting for it to break above the range, right? Not just clicking the button, right? But waiting to get above the range. And this is what you want to do, all right? You want to take the breakout trade above the range, all right? Okay? Now you see how easy and simple that was? Now look to your left. If you was asking yourself, what is he talking about? Look to your left right here on previous days on the 22nd. 3 days ago. What do you have? You have a bull flag within a range. a bull flag within a range. And what happened is we broke out, all right? The next day, and here we have it, NVDA. You understand that, all right? And so it's very quite natural for the bulls to want to take some profit, all right? And they have taken some. They took some here, they took some there, all right? And if they continue to shave off, all right, anticipating that news, right? That data we talked about. Remember that data tomorrow, right? Sometimes traders who are in the money understand that these moments can take away their money. Holding the bag instead of securing some profits. Trading errors. This is what's happening. Of course, NVIDIA wants to go up over time. But what happens is option expiration and trading errors within this ecosystem we call a stock market. And that's what you guys see, all right? So I'm going to end that video here on NVIDIA. Tesla's looking the same. All of these things are coiling, waiting to make a move, all right? And that's what you want to see. It's going to go back to the SPY so we can finish off with the corporate, all right? Remember our numbers we have, all right? We are still holding above that low of day, all right? So stay tuned for the next episode, all right, guys? Stay tuned for the next episode. This has been an episode of Monday Madness. We came a long way. If you enjoyed this video, the very detailed video, all right, give me a like, a thumbs up, okay? Smash that like button and hit the subscribe button and the bell notification. That way you're notified when I drop valuable videos. Don't forget to join a thriving community below. Discord, all right? We make gains here. We teach, we educate, and we earn together, all right? And here's some of the proof, some screenshots, all right? See there? All right? Discipline, mindset. That's what it's about, all right? Thank you guys for tuning in. Hope you enjoyed this episode. And as you watch me get off of this episode, you also see the price moving up a little bit, all right? Be patient. It could be a higher low rejection, all right? But we want to wait till the end of the day, okay? We are holding that higher low, okay? Remember this. It's 3:36 p.m. at the time of this video. Hope this helps you. You guys stay safe, be blessed. Always define your entry, your exit, and your risk before every trade. All right, this is Coach UV signing out. The Unique Trading Group, where strategy meets mindset and discipline turns into income. And until the next time, peace.